Alright, folks, I'm just wielding the sword a little more because yesterday I did a video and a few scriptures I left out that I wanted to add on to that. This is kind of a continuation, but because we go from Deuteronomy to Revelation, it's kind of a nutshell of a video in and of itself. So let's get it. I want to start from Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 26. It says, take the covenant of the Lord, take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, that it may remain there as a witness against you. So, because God knew they were stubborn and rebellious, this law that came through the mediator, Moses, as a mediator, don't give you exactly what you want. It's a compromised version, and you do a contract and you try to live up to your end of the bargain. So this after the golden calf incident, this law they made, this contract, which is a little bit of what you want because your hearts are hard, not the true version, that was placed outside the ark as a witness against you to what kept you from the presence of your Lord on the inside. So let's get it from Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 12. It said, "But go now to my place, which was Shiloh, where I made my name dwell at the first, and see what happened because of the wickedness of my people Israel." So Shiloh was where his presence was where the ark was where the high priest was. Kind of what the woman at the well in John 4 was maybe saying. But what happened was Eli's wicked sons were committing all sorts of fornication with all the nations behind the veil of the curtain. So Shiloh, God departed from, and as you'll know, the Syrians came and ransacked it. So want to move it all the way up to the New Testament. And at this time, Herod is king, and the Herods were Jewish, and they Herod's father, Herod the Great's father, Antipater, even said he was in Babylon. He even went as far as to say he was in Babylon with them. So his Judaism goes back to 5th century, 6th century, whereas some historians will put it at the 2nd century, but still well before this time. It's not that he was just Roman because he was allied with the Nabateans, or had subdued the Nabateans. He was allied with the Hasmoneans, and he was allied with the Egyptians, such as Cleopatra. So it's not that he was just some Herod was some client of Rome. No, he was the king of Judea, going back even before Julius Caesar formed the empire, the Roman Empire. So if we want to look at this Matthew here, this is Matthew 23. This is all about the Pharisees, and the Pharisees didn't come till 2nd century. So very concurrent to the Pharisees coming onto the scene are the Idumeans coming onto the scene, which they had all become Jewish, and they seem to both be Babylonian because Edom befell the same fate as Judea, such that they became naturally, one people in that way. So, I'm talking about zealots and Pharisees, but these Pharisees started to go against Herod, that he wasn't building the temple exactly to their specifications, because they were really, weighed up heavy burdens on everybody trying to get exactly right. And of course, the Hasmoneans never had it right in terms of the Pharisees, because where's the importance of the Messiah, a Levite, who's definitely not descended from the same Aaronic line. It's not a continuation. These priests that had taken power and were considered legitimate, as the Herods were considered legitimate, they never had all the right prescriptions for the Messianic era. So if we read here, Matthew 23, verse 32, it say, fill up the measure of guilt of your fathers, you serpents, you brood of vipers. So it's talking about their fathers. So this can't be Babylon, because they were no longer filling up any measure. Because what's this measure? It's Jesus clearly says it's killing the prophets, and this was, the prophets were always gone to their own people. Their own people had killed them, and we see this with the vineyard, the parable of the vineyard. So I want you to see this, which I know you already seen before, but in this context, look at this here, Matthew 28, and they took the money, the bribery soldiers. Now, let's start from the top. Now, when they were on their way, some of the guard came to the city and reported to the chief priests all that had happened. And when they had assembled the elders and consulted together, they had a large sum of money to the soldiers. They gave them, and said, you are to say, his disciples came at night and stole him away while we were asleep. And this should come to the governor's ears and win him over and keep you out of trouble. And they took the money and did as they had been instructed. And this story is widely spread among the Jews and is to this day. Well, that's so true, because they's always trying to say that Jesus saw corruption, that David didn't see no corruption, or the Messiah didn't see corruption, even though Jesus never died, and saw any corruption, that they want to say he did, and all sorts of human waste or whatever. And so here